Hi, everyone. This is our first Grow My Business webinar of the year. And if you are new, we're happy to have you here today. And if you have been joining us for the past almost 2 years, it's great to have you still here with us. So for the people that are just joining, what is the Grow My Business webinar? So this is our own avenue of providing business owners with resources they need to grow their business now and in the future, So we speak to industry experts across the world on how they have been able to grow their business, and they share tips and information that are very helpful for business owners today. So today I have with me Babasanjo. He's a data analyst from our portfolio. Before we go into his session, I would like to set a few house rules. Well, also, I don't know if everyone noticed, but today's Wednesday, and we usually have our webinars on Monday, so we kind of switched up a bit. It's still bi-weekly every 2 weeks, but we decided to change it, switch it up to a Wednesday, which is less busy. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, so a few house rules. So this webinar is being recorded. So in case you miss out anything, you are able to, we'll send the recorded version during the course of the week, most likely Friday or next week, Monday. But if you don't receive it, you can always check our YouTube channel. We always upload it on there. It's always uploaded on there. And so we have Babasanjo here and my colleague Ade Chubon. So they're going to be 2 sessions. And if you have any questions for both, please drop that in the Q&A section and not the chat, because you might lose all your questions there. So we just want it to be organized. So that's why we want it in the Q&A section. So now we're ready to kick off our first webinar of the year. I don't know about you, but I'm so excited. Just let me know how excited you are in the comment section. Are you guys excited for this session, how to grow your business in the midst of an inflation? I mean, things are happening around the world. Let me know if you're excited, put like an emoji or just say yes or something. I know I can't hear you, but it would be good to see some comment. Anybody? Okay, nice. Okay, great. So yeah, I'm going to allow Babasanjo Oshin to introduce himself, and then we are able to go on with the webinar.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Babasanjo Oshin, and I have a first and second degree in communication engineering. It might be surprising to some people. I actually didn't study accounting or economics or business administration in school. So yeah, I have a first and second degree in engineering. I'm married with 2 kids, 2 boys. And yeah, business finance is something I love to talk about and teach. And so today I'm going to be taking something on how to grow your business in the midst of an inflation. So I'm going to share my screen now. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm going to be talking on how to grow your business in the midst of an inflation. We all know what's happening right now around the world, like prices of goods and services have indeed gone up. We've seen a lot of that, especially because of the COVID-19 era that we had. Finally, we are seemingly moving fast away from that. And so first, we want to start with what is actually inflation. It's a good place to start with from. Now, inflation is a decline of purchasing power of a given currency over time. And I'm going to give in several examples. Now, it's a quantitative estimate of the rate at which the decline in purchasing power occurs. And this can be reflected in the increase of an average price level of a basket of selected goods and services. So basically, each country has what the prices of goods and services they check. So for example, in Nigeria, it's called CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now, this simply measures the change over time in prices of 740 goods and services. That's for Nigeria. It's different around the world for different, it's calculated differently in different countries. So in the case of Nigeria, we have the most important category being what? Food. That's food and non-alcoholic beverages, which actually encounters for 51.8% of the total weight. You have housing, you have water, you have electricity, you have gas, you have fuel, furniture, and so on and so forth. Now, this actually takes into consideration the prices of these goods and services in the 36 states in Nigeria. Now, the last inflation rate we actually had was released in January. So the inflation rate for January 2022 is 15.6%, a little different from the December rate of 2021, which came in at 15.63%. The February rating for inflation is going to be out sometime this month as well, and we'll see what that shows. Now, obviously, as a result of the pandemic, we had inflation reaching around 18.17% sometime in May of 2021, although we've seen a decline from that point up until now. So basically, it's the general rise in the level of prices, which is often expressed in percentages, right? So now, typically what happens during an inflation? Those with tangible assets like property may like to see some inflation as that value, as the value of their assets typically rises during an inflation. So I'll give you a typical example now. Maybe sometime in 2015, or let's say, let's not go too far away. Let's say 2017, you bought a car. Let's use the normal Tokumbo vehicle car for 2.5, which was the typical value for a Camry, let's say a Camry 2008 model. You bought it at 2.5 in 2017, right? And now this is 2022. It would actually not be a surprise for you to actually sell that vehicle at the same cost today. Why? Because of inflation. If you also take a look back, if for those of you that probably consume Indomie, this is not advert, but if you consume Indomie, as far back as before, that's 2020, just before the COVID hit and the COVID lockdown began, a box of noodles was around 1,500. Today it's around 3,400 thereabouts. So you can see the rise there. I also remember sometime in 2016, this normal popular Honeywell pasta that we consume was around 19 naira. Today it's around 400, 450 naira, right? So generally inflation is something that is real. And so we should first know what inflation is all about. So basically inflation reduces the purchasing power of your currencies. So if, for example, in 2015, we're earning maybe 250,000, the exchange rate as of 2015 was around 160 naira to a dollar. And then in 2022, if you are still, let's say, you get some form of raise and you're earning around 350,000, then that amount, if you take a look at it and you convert it, is still much lower than when you were earning 250,000. And as we go in, we're going to be giving several examples as well. So what are some of the causes of inflation? Now, I've highlighted here, you have two major types of inflation. You have the demand pull inflation, and then you have the cost push inflation. Now, for demand pull inflation, it's caused majorly by three things. A cut in interest rates, which is what we saw happen during the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of countries around the world, for example, in the US, they cut down interest rates in order to allow people borrow money at a lower cost and sort of like stimulate the economy. Now, what this does is people actually go into the market, borrow money, and then they have it's called free money. They have money to spend. So a cut in interest rates can actually increase the demand of certain goods and services, which can in turn increase the prices of those goods and services because the demand surpasses the supply. Another cause of demand pull inflation is increased money supply. We also saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic quite a number of countries gave out stimulus checks to their citizens. US did that, Canada did that, UK did that. All manner of stimulus checks were given to citizens of various countries in order to cushion the effect of the pandemic as people lost their jobs or companies closed, businesses closed. People weren't feeling comfortable enough to actually go out there and work. So you have increased money supply also leading to a demand pull inflation. Then the third thing is higher wages. Now, obviously, there's something called spiral effect of wages. Now, typically what that means is people demand for higher wages or companies offer higher wages in order to be able to attract the labor or the hands they actually need to function properly in order to be able to meet their demands. This is also another cause of inflation. Now, if you take a look at, to summarize demand pull inflation is the aggregate demand growing faster than the aggregate supply. So obviously the law of demand and supply is going to play here. If you have 10 people demanding for a good or an item, the company might be able to supply that. But the moment you have, let's say, 30 people demanding for supply that's just enough for 10 people, then automatically you're going to have the company play with its pricing power in order to bring down the demand they can offer. They will basically capitalize on that. And we've seen companies like Tesla do that in the past by raising the cost of their cars or the cost of their vehicles or whatever, or the service they offer. Now, if you take a look at cost push inflation is basically as a result of higher wages, devaluation, and increased taxes or increased VAT. Now, devaluation is what we see in the case of Nigeria, right? Devaluation simply means weakening the currency of a country in order for, just like we've seen in Nigeria, in 2020, you had FX rate at 360. In 2022, you have a parallel rate at 575. So basically, if a currency is devalued, it's going to push up the cost of all of this, of the product and services that we purchase, especially if that country is heavily dependent on importation. Another thing we see that causes cost push inflation is increased VAT. I've also seen that in the sugar tax that was that started not quite long. Obviously, these businesses are going to pass down the cost to their customers, and that's why you see a non-alcoholic drink that used to sell for 100 naira before, you see the same 100 naira being sold at a smaller bottle, and then you see a bigger bottle being sold at 150. Now, typically, they are going to pass down these taxes or this increase in taxes down to the consumers. Another thing is, if people are actually expecting inflation, that can actually cause inflation as well. If inflation is expected, it can also cause an increase in the goods, in the prices of goods and services. So basically, these are the causes of inflation, and we're going to be taking a look at, again, the factors that might be affecting inflation. And this is just a summary, just like mentioned earlier. Wage growth can cause inflation in the market, and that's why each time we see the NLC or ASO demanding for an increase in wages, the government tries as much as possible to listen to them, but also they also have sort of like concern about what inflation can actually mean. Another reason is oil prices. Now, we've seen what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, and obviously people are predicting that this is going to make inflation even go higher in many of these countries. Nigeria is not excluded, because if prices of oil or gas goes up, automatically that is going to be passed down to the consumers. Why? Because transportation is going to get a lot more expensive. Cost of transferring or transporting goods from one place to another is definitely going to get a whole lot higher. Like I said, again, inflation expectation is something else that causes inflation. Then Monetary policy. Monetary policies are basically the tools that the CBN or the central bank of any country uses to manipulate or control inflation. So you have policies like interest rate hikes, buying up of bonds and things like that, controlling in order for them to be able to control inflation rates. Obviously, exchange rate is another very, very important point that causes inflation to either go up, shoot up, or reduce a little bit. And then productivity growth as well. As a result of the crisis going on between, or the war between Russia and Ukraine right now, you see governments of various countries are actually advising or saying that companies should produce a lot more oil in order to reduce the impact of sanctions against Russia. This is also a very good point, or a very strong point that people should be looking at. Also, the rate of growth or the rate of economic growth in the country also matters as well. If the rate of growth is too fast, happens too fast, the same way the COVID-19 lockdowns were losing, and then it seemed like the economic growth in many countries sort of sped up, that can actually also lead to a rise in inflation as well. And so the question now is, how does inflation affect businesses? It's a known fact that if prices of goods increase, or price of goods and services increase, there's going to be a direct impact on businesses. But we are trying to look at how does inflation affect businesses, and how can we navigate through such times and terrains? So first, businesses are directly impacted in two major ways. And the first way is this: when prices increase, businesses experience increased raw materials, manufacturing, and overhead costs, which is typically normal. Because if, for example, you run a bakery business, the prices of sugar, the prices of flour has gone up drastically in the last 2 years, right? That is a raw material you need to bake your bread, to make your snacks. Now, while a business will remain relatively unaffected by transferring all the costs to consumers, in reality, business will absorb part, if not majority, of the increased cost to avoid losing customers. So bread before was around 400, but now we've seen bread go as high as 700, 750. Before, you could buy a 15 inches cake for, let's say, 14,000, 15,000. Now the same 15 inches cake is selling for 20,000, 25,000, right? So a business can pass down this cost typically to the customers, but then in some cases, you are not going to be able to pass down the entire thing. And we are going to be seeing why that might be difficult for some products and services. Now, the second thing is, when inflation rises, the purchasing power, as we know, of your customers is simply eroded. It goes down, it drops. This means that businesses will have lower sales and a reducing total revenue for the business. Because definitely, if people decide to say, okay, yes, we need this, we want this, okay, you don't necessarily have to, you don't necessarily need a want, but you need a need, right? So, and we know there are 4 basic needs for humans: food, clothing, shelter, transportation. Very, very important, basic needs, right? Every other thing might be luxury, right? So people begin to sift the shaft and say, okay, yes, we need this. Okay, we don't need this. Now, automatically, that is going to tell on the total revenue of a business, thereby reducing their profits and obviously reducing their margins, because they are unable to pass down the entire cost to their customers, right? So does inflation affect businesses the same way? Absolutely not. And this was what I was saying, right? Number one, essential goods and services are definitely less impacted than non-essential ones. And that's why the 4 basic needs, food, transportation, clothing, shelter, most of the time appreciate during an inflation. You would agree with me that, let's say like 3 years ago, you could rent an apartment somewhere in Yaba, a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere in Yaba, Lagos. for 600,000, but probably today in the same location, it goes for ₦1 million. You could probably rent a 2-bed apartment in Bagada at that same time for around 750. Today, it's around 1.2, 1.250, right? So generally, you see an appreciation of assets during an inflation, right? So why? Because it's a basic need. It's something that people need, shelter. So in general, consumption of essential goods and services are unavoidable. People must eat. You must buy pure water. Even if you don't buy bottled water, you buy sachet water. Why? Because you must take water. You are going to eat. You are going to buy bread. You are going to buy snacks. Everybody needs to eat, right? So that's essential. Thus, consumers will still spend on essential goods and services, resulting in much lower price elasticity of demand, which we'll see in the graph that is going to show next. Now, consumers are more likely to reduce consumption of non-essential goods when prices rise. So, for example, prices of alcohol or tobacco, if it rises, an individual can decide to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to cut my intake of tobacco and alcohol because probably it's not absolutely needed, right? So, and a customer can also say, okay, I don't need to buy this watch. It's a luxury. I can buy a cheaper watch. I don't need to buy this phone. I can buy a cheaper phone. Things like that, right? So they will cut down on things that are not essential. Rather than buy 4 shoes, I can decide to buy 1 shoe and use that. So now we'll see that in this graph. Basically, for essential goods, when there's an increase in price, there's a lower, and that's what you see in the first graph. When there's an increase in price, there's a lower change in the quantity. But non-essential goods, when there's an increase in price, there's a greater drop in the quantity that is being sold, right? And then number 2 is markets with fewer sellers see less of an impact. Definitely, if you don't have the market, if the market isn't crowded, you're definitely going to find out that, okay, you might be able to increase your prices of goods or service and still maintain market share and still maintain your profit and still maintain a reasonable margin without losing so much of your customers. Now, in such a market, an increase in prices represents the risk of losing customers to another competitor. So generally, you want to make sure that when you're increasing prices, you want to see what your other competitors are doing as well. And that's why you see some companies decide to bring out multiple products within the same segment. So you find a company like Dufil, for example, come out with Indomie noodles and then come out with mini-me noodles, right? In such a way that they provide a higher pricing commodity and a lower pricing commodity, that should they lose some customers because of an increase in the higher commodity, yes, they will be able to get some other customers in the lower commodities. You also find some people decide to make lower packaged products as well. So rather than sell, let's say 100 grams, they could decide 100 grams of a product, they could decide to make them in 25 grams and make them a lot more affordable to their customers. You find this mostly done with food in the food industry. Why? Because food is essential. People might not be able to afford a large quantity, so you similarly find industries produce smaller quantity products to be able to sell to their customers. Now, markets and industries with fewer sellers have higher pricing power than concentrated markets with many sellers. So you find out, let's say you run a printing press business, prices of ink or prices of fabric to make your shirts has gone up, cotton and all of that. Now, because you're in an environment that is heavily crowded, you're in an environment that is into gift packaging, souvenirs, you might not be able to have a huge pricing model, right, at that point in time. But let's say you are let's say you provide security, you might be able to play with your pricing power because yes, security is something that is needed, especially now in the environment we find ourselves. So businesses that sell within a market with few alternatives may experience a lesser impact than those in markets with abundance of sellers in times of inflation. You and I know what happened to Coca-Cola, for example. Coca-Cola was expensive. They were selling at 150 naira for the big bottle. And then you suddenly found another drink come on board, which is Biggie, and they were selling the same quantity at 100 naira. And we saw what happened to the market share of Coca-Cola. Biggie practically took a lot of market share off of Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And then those ones too had to react with their own pricing, right? So you seemingly find all of this. So if you are increasing prices of your products and services, you should make sure you keep an eye on what your competitors are doing as well. This is very important. And number three, brand power reduces the negative impact of pricing increase. This is obviously seen for brands that are stronger, brands that have lasted for years. Now, consumers pay more for branded goods as compared to general goods. It can be for various reasons. It can be for prestige. It can be for maybe because the brand is associated with something. I usually call that a cult following. And we find that following in brands like Apple, in brands like Tesla. There's a cult following to it. So no matter how expensive these products get, people still buy them, no matter how expensive it gets. Now, a typical iPhone now, we know how much it goes for. It goes for as much as 700,000, 1.2 million naira. But then if you backtrack a little bit again, even with the conversion of the exchange rate, you find out that the prices of iPhones have actually been increasing. The prices of laptops, Apple laptops, Macs has actually been increasing, even if you are looking at the dollar value, right? Products associated with the high brand power have a considerable, more inelastic demand, and consumers are more accepting of a price increase. And like I said, you see that with brands like Apple, you see that with Amazon, and Amazon increased its fee for Prime shipping. That was sometime last year. So you see that they're able to play with their pricing power. You see that with Netflix, because they have a very, very strong brand. You see that with Dufil as well, which are the makers of Indomie noodles. You also see that with a brand like Unilever. They're able to play with their pricing. So what you want to do as a business owner is you want to know that, okay, yes, have we developed the brand power that we need for this business? If your answer is yes, and you have people sort of like locked into you, then yes, you can definitely play with your prices and get the best out of it. Now, how should small business fight inflation? And here I'm just going to be talking about giving about 10 points. And the first point is this: you need to review your company finances. That is the first thing. That is the very, very first thing you want to do. Now, basically, you're going to be taking a look at your balance sheet. Now, your balance sheet is your assets and your liabilities. You're going to be taking a look at your assets and your liabilities. At every point in time, you want to make sure that your asset outweighs your liability during a time of inflation. Why? Because your assets are going to appreciate at that point in time. The cost of your oven, for example, if you run a bakery business today, is a lot more expensive than when you probably bought it 5 years ago, right? So during a time of inflation, you want to be investing a lot more in assets, in properties, buildings, cars, as long as you're using that car for your business, or a truck, equipment for your business. You want to be investing a lot in that. And you want to make sure that you have a less amount for your liabilities. You want to be owing people less. You should focus on your balance sheet. That is the starting point. How much do we actually have? What we have, does it outweigh what we're actually owing people? It's very, very important. Point number 2 is you want to renegotiate your contracts and terms with suppliers. So basically, if you're in a time of inflation and you are currently running a contract with someone, you want to give short-term contracts because you really don't know what is going to happen. I remember way back in 2016, from 2016 to 2017, we saw how the FX rates, we saw how the Naira got devalued. It went as high as 520 before it dropped and steadied on 360. But during that time, you found out that companies had no other choice than to be billing their customers in dollars. Why? Because the FX rate was pretty volatile within that space of about 3 to 6 months, right? So you want to be giving short-term contracts. You don't want to be giving long-term contracts because you really don't know what is going to happen the next moment. And if you've signed a contract with a customer and they've locked in at that price, and then something happens the following day. We've seen a situation where the Naira was devalued 15% in one day, right? You want to be careful about giving long-term contracts. Again, you want to renegotiate your terms with your suppliers. You want to lock in prices at cheaper rates. And we also see companies like Apple, Tesla doing this. You see Tesla locking in agreements with suppliers for 5-10 years for a raw material that they need, right? Lithium. They do a lot of that. You too should be doing that. You want to be locking down terms with suppliers. Okay, initially we used to order 1,000 bags of flour from you guys, but now we are going to be ordering 2,000 bags from you guys, and we want it at this cost within this period. Why? You want to be spending more in order for you to reduce your cost of production, and you want to be locking this cost with your suppliers. Point number 3 is you want to be plugging leaks. Plugging leaks will save you money. Basically, you want to look around you. What are the things that we are spending money on that is waste? Now, you want to be finding those things out, and then you want to be blocking them. So something as little as electricity bill is something you want to be taking a look at. And I'll use the banks, for example. You find out today that initially, years back, banks used to work late in the night. They used to power on their generating sets. Why? Because there's no electricity in Nigeria, or electricity supply in Nigeria is low. But at some point in time, they had to change that model, and sort of like you find out banks are closing a lot earlier. Now, we also find out that banks have closed and sort of like consolidated their branches as well. So they reduced number of branches in order to be able to sort of reduce their leakages here and there, right? You also, something as little, like I said, as electricity, you might, it will probably not make sense for you to put on your AC at work and then have maybe one leakage somewhere through the window. It makes a whole lot of sense to make sure that everywhere is short, and then yes, you feel the impact of the AC a lot more. If you are using a 1.5 horsepower, you might want to get an AC that is energy saving. If you don't have a solar installed, you might want to get a solar installed and cut down the dependence on petrol or electricity and reduce your cost. Those are things that you might want to be doing. And you see today, you find a lot of neobanks. By neobanks, I mean online banks. You find the likes of Kuda, Carbon, and all of these other guys springing up fast. Now, these guys don't have branches. They don't have a huge running cost. They don't have leakages here and there. And so they're able to pass down a lot of the cost benefits and savings down to the customers as well. So you want to sit down and take a look at your business and see, okay, are you into food, a restaurant business? And probably maybe you make 2 bags of, example, you make 2 bags of rice in a day, and you find out that, okay, we are not able to sell these 2 bags of rice in a day, and we have maybe half bag wasting. Okay, can we stop that, reduce it, and sort of like see, can we cook in small batches or small portions so that we don't have all of these wastages? You need to sit down, evaluate your business, and find what works for you. I'm just giving general examples from across various sectors here. And number 4, you need to focus on revenue and productivity growth. Sometimes it's important during a time of inflation, you want to expand your reach, you want to expand your market. So for example, you run a delivery service, but you deliver only on the island. So are you looking at expanding your market to be able to deliver on the mainland as well? Because if you open your service to people in a different location, then obviously you stand a chance to make a lot more in your business. Are you a local brand now and you deliver in Nigeria, okay, do you want to have an option of delivering your service in UK, in Canada, in the US? Let's say you're into fabric making, you make all these local fabrics that they use for engagements and weddings. Is it adire or ashoki, that kind of stuff? Are you in that area and you only have customers in Nigeria? You might want to look at, okay, is it possible for us to expand to the UK? There are Nigerians there. Is it possible for us to expand to Canada? Is it possible for us to expand to the US? Right? So whatever area that you are in, you want to also sit down and see, okay, yes, we have one branch of restaurant on the island, but there's someone that has been demanding for our product or our food on the mainland, and is telling us, okay, there are customers there waiting for us. Okay, so is it possible for us to do a feasibility study on the mainland and see if we can open another branch on the mainland? And you see some of these businesses doing that. So for some of us, you might know Jevnik. Jevnik restaurant doesn't have many branches, but then you see them on the mainland. They are somewhere in Ikeja, and then you see them on the island as well, and you see them in a few other states across Nigeria. All right, so this might be a time for you to start considering expanding your business in order to be able to grow your revenue at the same time without definitely hurting your bottom line. Very important. And point number 5, you want to cut costs, but you don't want to hurt the morale of your staff. This is very, very critical as well. Yes, it's a time of inflation. You want to cut your costs, but then you need to treat your staff properly, because the way you treat your staff is how they're obviously going to treat your business as well, right? So the little tips that you give them, let's say they come on weekends, on a Saturday, you give them an overtime pay or an extra fee for coming to work on a Saturday, on the weekend, rather than resting. Do you have coffee breaks, tea breaks? Do you provide lunch at work for free? Little things like that, little benefits like that. You don't want to sort of like take them out suddenly. This can dampen the morale of your staff. So yes, you want to cut costs, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your staff is happy working with you. Otherwise, they are going to look elsewhere, right? Point number 6, you need to raise prices of your products. We've said that. Now, raising prices of your product doesn't work all the time, so you need to be careful, right? You need to raise prices of your product and services, but keep an eye on your competition. You can use simple simulations and then obviously make contingency plans and sort of like forecast, give a forecast that, okay, yes, if the inflation rate does get to 18%, how can we navigate this and stuff like that? Now, I like to use, obviously, this program is for small businesses, so I like to use a lot of examples about small businesses. So let's say you run a bakery, right, in an area. So take a look at the bakeries around you. How are they selling, right? And then see if you can play with your pricing. Okay, is it possible for us to improve the quality of our product and then automatically also increase the cost as well? So you'll find out that for a typical bakery that probably sells bread for 500 naira to retail, and then maybe 350 to distributors, their cost might be around, cost of production for a loaf of bread might be around 250 naira. So is it possible for us to make our bread a lot nicer and raise the cost that we sell to distributors and the cost we sell to retail and still maintain the price around there? So for example, the cost of bread in Lagos might be 700. But if you get to a place like Ota, somewhere in Ogun State, the cost of bread might be 500. If you get somewhere up north, the cost of bread might be 400. So I'm talking about the family loaf size, right? So yes, you want to increase prices, but you also want to make sure you localize it as much as possible. Point number 7, be upfront with your customers about price increases. Let them know. Don't catch your customers unawares. Okay, someone buys stationery from you. You do office supplies, for example. You supply stationeries, pens, biros, erasers, sharpeners, papers, and stuff like that. So let's say a school or an office, right? But you didn't let them know that, oh, okay, price of paper we know very well that price of a ream of paper, A4 paper, used to sell for 500 naira for a whole ream, but today it sells for around 2,500, 3,000. There's a sharp increase in that. You just don't want to supply them and tell them, don't you know that prices of paper is now a lot more expensive. You need to let them know. You need to carry them along. There's a popular saying that says that customer is always right, customer is king, and you need to make sure that you keep that you keep that in mind. Your customer is always right, and you need to carry them along. They need to know when there is a pricing issue. They need to know. They would understand, because definitely, most likely, they're also feeling the effect. There's hardly anything that hasn't gone up in price today in Nigeria and in many other places. We see what happened in Turkey. We see what the inflation rate is doing in Turkey. We see the same thing right now in Russia. We see what the inflation rate is like in the UK. We see what the inflation rate is like in the US. Prices of things have generally gone up, right? Generally. So you need to be as upfront as possible to your customers. Very, very important. And point number 8, just like I mentioned earlier, you need to now start making bulk purchases of inventory, raw materials, equipment, properties, and other supplies. This is very, very important. And I'll give this example. I remember sometime in around 2015, sometime 2015 in February. So yeah, I traveled to Dubai in 2014. And then I went to the open market somewhere around the area, and I saw these guys selling this popular fabric we call article fabric here in Nigeria. And I asked them for the price, and it was pretty ridiculous. It was around for 5 yards, it was around 10 dirhams. Back then, I think 1 dirham was around 53 naira to a dirham, if I'm not mistaken. So you could buy 1 yard for 10 dirhams, and then yes, you could buy 5 yards of that, and that would be 50 dirhams. And the exchange rate was around 53 naira, thereabout. And these were nice fabrics, right? They were pretty nice from different places. And so I bought a few of them for myself personally. And then on getting back to Nigeria, I sold them, and people started commenting, people started giving comments. So yes, that was the 10 dirhams was like the basic ones, but yes, there were more expensive ones, which were still cheaper. So I went back again in 2015, and this time around, I decided to buy, I think I bought 200 pieces this time around, and I brought them into Nigeria in 2 boxes, 2 big boxes, right? So that was like my inventory. At the end of the day, by the time I sold some of them, I'd already gotten the cost of everything. Right? Why? Because the cost of this material kept going up. So basically, in a time of inflation, you want to stock up your inventory. You want to stock up your inventory. For someone that is into bakery, right? Imagine if you had enough flour to take you on while the prices of flour kept on rising. Yes, you know that you have to be increasing the cost of your products at that point in time, but it's not going to be an instant shock for you. You'll be a lot better than someone that needs to go and find extra capital to put into the business to buy inventory, right? You also want to be investing, or you want to be buying equipment during that time. Very, very important. You want to take advantage and lock in. You also want to be able to invest in properties. Why? Because it is a known fact. Real estate property goes up during a time of inflation. The cost of your house is a lot higher today than in the past. I remember I know someone that bought a family friend of ours bought a plot of land in 1987 for around 2,000 naira. And today, that same plot of land today is around almost 8 million for a plot of land. Now, that's a span of from 1987 to 2002. And the same thing happened in a place like Lekki. We all know how Lekki started, Lekki phase 1. We know what the cost was like, and we know what the cost is like today, right? Yes. So I know all of this is dependent on finance, But with the little you have, try as much as possible to sit down and see the best you can possibly do, which is where point one came in. Start from your finances, start from your balance sheet. What do you have in existence currently, and work with it? Yes, definitely it won't be perfect, but you want to make the best use of what you have at that point in time, right? And then number 9, you want to invest in technology. Now, technology is another area that is pretty important. And we've seen various sectors do this, right? When you improve on technology, you are able to, or when you invest in technology, you are able to reach a larger market size. It's a global village. But today, you find people doing remote work as a result of technology. Now, irrespective of where they live, they're able to actually function. You might have some people working for businesses in the US and they live in Nigeria. So you find companies or websites like Turing employing remote engineers, and these guys are able to work, right? Now, technology made that possible. You also want to use technology to reach a lot more people. You're able to advertise on Facebook. You're able to say you want to run an e-commerce site, right? And so that a lot more people can see you. I know there is a business somewhere in Kenya that actually delivers as soon to you using drones, right? So are those some of the things that you can take into consideration and bring into your business to expand your reach? Those are some things you want to be able to do to sort of like take you away from your locality and expand your business frontier. You want to do that. You want to increase your total addressable market using tech, which is very possible at this time and age. And then finally, number 10, you want to keep at it. You want to keep doing these things because, again, for a country like Nigeria, it is the way things change is pretty fast. Things changes pretty fast, and you need to keep up because you never can tell when the next change might just happen, right? So we need to move as fast as possible. So I think at this point, that wraps up my session, and hopefully it will be nice to have some questions at the end of the whole presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Babasanjo. This was a very insightful session, especially how business owners can grow their business during an inflation, especially trying to, talk to the suppliers, new technology, and maybe also communicating with their customers on price increase or any change of their product. I hope everyone enjoyed this session. So we'll be going on to Adejuwon. So he works at Flutterwave and he will be sharing what Flutterwave offers. I think I saw in the comment section that if this webinar is recorded, so it is recorded and you will get it later on during this week. And if you don't see it in your inbox, you can always check our YouTube channel, Flutterwave. So now, Adejuwon, are you there? Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A section. We'll be going through that in a couple of minutes. So hang on. Hi, Adejuwon.
Good afternoon. Hi, Babasanjo. Thank you for that insightful session. It was good to have you on here. I believe the number of people that we have here have massively gleaned off your wealth of knowledge, right? And hopefully they can, put it to good use in their businesses. So my name is Adejuwon, guys, and I am happy to be here. I'm here to just talk about Flutterwave and what we do, right? What we are about, right? I will share my screen so I can do a quick walkthrough. I'll try to be very brief as much as possible so we can, get ahead with our days. All right, so here at Flutterwave, we believe Africa is not a country, but will make you feel like one, right? What this speaks to is the fact that we are borderless. We are not just Nigerian. We see Africa as one body, right? And all we stand for today is to ensure everybody is able to connect to every other person in Africa without issues as seamlessly as possible, right? A bit of a brief about Flutterwave, by which we are Africa's biggest payment processor. We provide the easiest and most reliable payment solutions for businesses anywhere in the world. We have products such as Flutterwave for Business, Barter for like a retail-based consumer lifestyle application, right? Where you can do stuff like digital banking, value-added services, your day-to-day transactions, basically. You see a number of countries here where we have our footprint in Nigeria, Accra, down to London. Again, we're a payment technology company taking businesses in Africa to the world, and we're enabling global businesses to launch in Africa, right? So beyond connecting Africans to Africans, we're also connecting the rest part of the world to Africans, right? So any business outside of Africa can come into Africa, any part of Africa, and do business seamlessly, right? We have already built a platform that enables such seamlessness. Our mission here is simplifying payment for endless possibilities. We are not one to, we don't see limits. We believe everything is possible as far as payment is concerned. And we are here to power use cases, right? As any of your businesses might require. Also, we try to simplify the compliance side. Any of our customers can come and transact with us, use our infrastructure to accept payment, do payouts without fear of not being compliant to applicable local laws, right? We do 100% on this by ensuring that we are compliant to whatever law that governs whatever corridor that it is we are operating in. These are some of our clients. We work with very renowned names. We have Facebook, we have Piggyvest, we have Cheaper Cash, Wise, which used to be TransferWise, Booking.com, and a whole number of other customers that you won't find their names here, right? This just goes to show that a number of brands believe in the reliability of our payment infrastructure, right? As a result, we've had repeat businesses over time, right? This also selling to you that you can join us today, right? So you can enjoy the same experience these global businesses are enjoying with Flutterwave today. Our success stories, just highlighting some of the success stories we have with some of these merchants. Cheaper Cash, who will help power payments into Africa. Uber for all the markets Uber are in, we help them power collections, power payment from retail users like you who use their taxis and their ride-hailing services. Younger Beauty. So you can see just beyond global brands, we also do like e-commerce. Younger Beauty, who is in Nigeria, who does stuff with Flutterwave, they can receive payments globally using our payment rails. What we offer an all-inclusive payment gateway. Our APIs are easily consumable, right? You don't need complex integration. As a matter of fact, we even offer you like a dashboard where you can generate, payment links and all of that. We'll get to that definitely. Our infrastructure is at zero cost. We've built it, in-house so that you can just come and ride on them to be able to make payments and to also be able to accept payments, right? Which means we help you lower your business running cost. We also offer real-time payouts and disbursement, right? Very good to know that all our solutions are built in-house. Everything that you see Flutterwave run with today are owned by us through and through, right? We also have services that cover mobile money, POS, ATM payments, payment switch for merchant and PSSP, right? So we are an all-inclusive payment service provider, basically. In operations today, we are connected to over 90 acquirers. We have over 290,000 merchants. we've processed over $9 billion, right? Actually here our infrastructure reach is in over 25 countries. Here 33 African countries covered. That means today you can come to Africa and be able to accept in at least 33 African countries. We support over 150 currencies, meaning you can collect in over 150 currencies, right? Also, we offer you mobile money. We offer you connections to mobile money wallets. We offer you point of sale services, right? And other alternative payment types, right? You see here the connections that we have to MTN Mobile Money, M-Pesa, the card schemes, MasterCard, Visa, Verve, payment processors like PayPal, like Alipay, like Zappa, right? Basically what we are doing is to ensure every time any of your customers want to pay you, they always have an option that they are familiar with. So there's never a case of your customer abandoning a transaction just because they couldn't pay with the kind of method they are familiar with, right? Again, we offer our customer a very awesome payment experience with our suite of payment solutions. This is just an example of it. This is our payment checkout page, right? You can integrate payment to your website or mobile apps for free via our APIs, software development kits, and direct integrations. Mentioned before, you can do over 150 currencies all over the world, collect payment across multiple payment types and methods, cards, QR, mobile money, USSD, bank accounts, etc., right? And our APIs are quite adaptable to a number of e-commerce plugins out there. So rest assured that you're coming, to the right place for your payment solutions. Also, you can send money anywhere using Flutterwave. We have also built an infrastructure that allows you to be able to send money to different corridors in the world, right? Today, we currently power payment services provider. We power money transfer operators who require us to terminate, inbound funds into different parts in Africa, right? We are able to specialize. We are able to process payment into Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and over 30 African markets, where we have domestic bank deposit payout capabilities and also mobile money, right? So again, we are all inclusive, all inclusive, right? Again, we have built an API, just one API that connects you with all of these solutions. So you don't have to do multiple integrations to, access all of these services, right? From your dashboard, you'll be able to send bulk and single payment, right? For employers who are here, you can, pay salaries with the bulk payment. You can make vendor payments. When you need to pay a couple of vendors, you can upload the schedule and just make your payment, or you can just do single transfer, right? You can either do it on your dashboard or via APIs. For our Flutterwave Mobile, this is just an adaptation of what our dashboard looks like, but this time we are putting it on your phone, so you don't have to log in via your mobile browser, right? Here, you'll be able to accept payments anywhere as your mobile phone becomes your own personal POS. You can create and manage your Flutterwave store. You can take control of all your business activities, right? You have quick access to transactions, customer insights, and whatnot on that same on Flutterwave Mobile. That is, you can get our Flutterwave Mobile on the app stores on the different ecosystems that we have today, Google or Apple. Now, these are Flutterwave Store. Interestingly, Flutterwave Store has now morphed into the Flutterwave Marketplace. It's become an aggregation of marketplaces where SMEs and big businesses, can sell their products, right, for free, right? Everything you need to provide the best shopping experience for your customer has been, embedded, or rather is embedded into Flutterwave Marketplace. So anyone today can go and sign up with us. You can create your store, upload products, specify their prices. In fact, you can even create like discount codes where people can redeem. And as sales is happening, you would be seeing live updates on your dashboard. You see the payment, payment amount, payment details, who actually did pay, email addresses, and all of that, right? Again, we're able to give you all of this data mining so that you can make informed decision. But yeah, that's for Flutterwave store, which has now moved into the Flutterwave marketplace. These are our dashboard looks, right? It gives you the power to control your business, gives you insights, ability to set your payment preferences, right? This from where you manage all of the solutions that you enjoy with Flutterwave, right? This is where all your transactions come to. This is where you manage your customers. You can also make transfers from here, right? You can create sub accounts for split settlements. You can do your chargebacks too from on here. You can request for point of sale devices and see how they are performing here too. Basically, here you can set up invoices and all of that, right? But this is the dashboard. This is what you get by the time you get on board with us. You can accept payment via POS devices. Also, we give out POS terminals, right, in partnership with acquiring banks, PTSPs. We're able to help you power card collections at your physical retail stores where people can pay with their cards on our POSs, and you can see how these transactions go, right? You enjoy seamless and automated reconciliation via our payment dashboard. On your payment dashboard, you'll be able to, if you don't have a website, you can actually generate secure payment links and send to people to make payments. So today, if you don't have a website, but you need to get paid, you can create a link, send to someone, or send it to whoever it is that is meant to pay you. They click on it. You will, of course, have set the parameters like the amount and everything. So the person, goes ahead to make the payment. This also fits the use case of donations, right? You can leave the amount open-ended so people can make donations to a certain cause that you are promoting or that you believe in, right? This one requires no integration, no website. The integrations are not complicated. You don't need any coding. This is good for freelancers or folks who don't have a lot of technical know-how, right? It's also compatible with e-commerce stores like WooCommerce and Shopify. Again, these payment links allows various payment methods, including bank transfers, USSD, cards, and every other payment type that we are able to offer you today. For invoices, you can also create invoices and send to people who are meant to pay you. You can create professional invoices and you can send out in multiple currencies to your customers. You can track the payments. You can also be alerted when the invoices are overdue in case it has not been paid on, right? It also helps you to reconcile your sales and your tax positions, basically, right? This is another fantastic product you can get on the Flutterwave dashboard. Today also, we help you issue and manage custom prepaid virtual and physical cards, right? We see ourselves as a one-stop shop, basically, for all your payment solutions, right? There's a lot of use cases our virtual and physical cards can fit. You can use it for expense management. You can use it for payment on global sites. You can use it for different things, loyalty cards and all of that. And you are able to design the look and feel, basically, right? These are some of the things that we offer here at Flutterwave. Also, we can help you, set up events, and people can, get tickets through the Flutterwave, through our Flutterwave platform, right? You can host and sell event tickets, right? Using our event management solution, you can accept payment for events, movies, and concert tickets, both online or offline. You see an example of Naira Box here. We'll rely on our APIs to be able to do the business that they do today, right? Yeah, so if you want to get started with us today, all you need to do is go to www.flutterwave.com and click on sign up to register with us. If you have any questions, you can drop in the chat box so we can attend. But thank you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Adijo. Okay, so now we're going to the Q&A section. So if you have any questions to ask either Babasanjo or Adijo, you can just leave that there because we're going to go through it now. Okay, so I see just one question, and this is for Adijo. Pio says, I see that Flutterwave supports US dollar. Does this mean I can integrate the solution and accept payment in US with Flutterwave?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You'll be able to accept in those currencies. Like I said, we support over 150 currencies, right? You'll be able to do both payouts and collections for those currencies. I hope that clarifies.
All right, thank you. Doesn't seem like we have much questions today, but if you have any question, feel free to drop it there in the Q&A section. I'm just going to read it. Okay, so this is in the chat, not in the chat, Jane, but okay, I would read it. This is for Adijo. Where can one change the business name on the platform? I'm able to edit my name, but not my business name. And I currently changed my business name.
Okay, so you'd need to send in a request to us for us to update. Also share with us requisite document that backs up, the new name you want to change to. Just send an email to hi@flutterwavego.com. I'll put it in the chat box so you can know what email address to address your request to.
Any plan for farmers to link to better markets for their product? I'm unclear with this question, Innocent. Do you mind sending another one to clarify this? So Columbus is asking in the chat that does that mean that one who does not I'm not
have
sure.
a dollar account can still receive?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Columbus, for the question. Yes, you can. So from your dashboard, we offer you like embedded wallets. So even if you don't have a dollar account, but if you charge in dollars and we help you collect, by the time we settling, as long as your option is settled to wallet, we can settle your dollar to your dollar wallet on your dashboard. From there, you can then make, you can appropriate as you desire. You can make payouts to say banks or whatever destination that is, right? You might even do cross-currency conversions between dollar to, maybe Ghanaian cedis, a couple other currencies that will support. But yeah, you'll be able to receive dollars.
Okay, thank you, Adijo. So I think that brings us to the end of this webinar. Since there are no other questions, thank you everyone for joining us today. Okay, there's one more question from Jane. Why can't I have two accounts with different currencies on the platform? This is what Adijo.
So you don't need two accounts to process the currencies that we support today. You can have one account and process in different currencies.
She also added that she's only able to put details of her Naira account.
Oh, you mean your bank account, is it?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, on the dashboard, you'll be able to add other accounts. I know today we have merchants who are able to add their Naira account, maybe as their primary account, and then they can now have other accounts that are their secondary accounts, the GBP, USD, Euro, Ghanaian cedis, and any other, right? You should be able to add all of your accounts. If you have issues with that, just check in with hi@flutterwavego.com. Send say screenshot of the issue you're faced with. I'll be happy to resolve.
All right, thank you, Adijo. So this one is for Babasanjo. During inflation, is it advisable to buy more products to resell later or wait after the inflation?
Okay, so you can buy more products to resell, but then if it's a business that you need constant products coming in, then yes, you can do what we said by locking in a long-term supply with some of this your suppliers. So if it's an essential raw material that you need, so yes, you can go the route of locking in supplies. Rather than tying down a lot of your funds, you can simply lock in a contract agreement with them for a stipulated quantity for a stipulated period of time. So something like that might help you as well. So, and that was like the example I gave with the use of flour or sugar. So rather than tie down a large sum of money, you can go into an agreement with them and say, okay, for the next 5 years, we'll be purchasing this raw material from you at this quantity per time, something like that. Something probably higher than your usual purchase order you make from them. So yes, you can't per se wait for inflation to go down because, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. So we have come to the end of this webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us. And if you want to stay in touch with Babasanjo, I think he can share his details in the chat box, so you can reach out to him if you have to reach out to him. So he'll be sharing his email and any other platform that you can reach out to him. If you have any inquiries, any issues, you can reach out to us at hi@flutterwavego.com. On Twitter, we are at FLW support. And on Instagram, it's at the Flutterwave, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is at the Flutterwave Global. For all support issues, it's FLW support on Twitter, and our email, hi@flutterwavego.com. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you had a swell and lovely session. See you in about 2 weeks. Thank you.